Dice Tower Tonight, episode 41.
When kids go crazy.
Welcome to Dice Tower Tonight, a video cast about board games and card games, and especially the people who play them. On tonight's show, Crystal has promised a memorable new challenge for me and the live chat, and I recently ran an impromptu game club at school. Mistakes were made. Plus, we discuss some recent games played and we chat with the audience live. I'm Eric Summerer, and joining me now, the Elizabeth Banks to my John Michael Higgins, Crystal Pisano. I
feel like I should know that, and I know who the actress Elizabeth Banks is. Yeah, but is that what I don't get it.
Have you seen Pitch Perfect?
Oh yes, that is good. Okay, yep, I totally get it now.
I was going to go with the character names, but I thought that would be too obscure, and I didn't remember them. I had to go look them up anyway. So gotcha. I thought that would be a little easier.
I like it. So wait, does that mean you and I are going to judge an a cappella competition? Because I'm totally down for that.
I don't see why we can't.
For the record, Ambi is actually in an a cappella group in San Francisco. So we could go to San Francisco and hear her sing a cappella sometime.
We could do a Statler and Waldorf routine. And
oh my gosh. We could heckle. We could definitely. We'd be the nicest hecklers anyone's ever seen.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, hello, chat. It's so lovely to see all of you. Well, not see. I don't know. To be with all of you. I wanted to give you a mild disclaimer. I've had some landscapers working in my backyard, and I think they may have just wrapped up work for the day, but I'm not certain. And while they're making noise, my dogs also have been freaking out and barking a lot. So if that happens, I apologize. There's not a lot I can do about it. So hopefully everyone has calmed down at this point.
So, Crystal, I had a parental dilemma this week. Not as much of a dilemma, but just sort of one of those things that I had to do as a dad that I was a little disappointed. My son was in a town-wide band this week. A big concert, town-wide concert, all the elementary schools in town performing, which is great. Proud of the guy. He had worked hard the whole time. But they scheduled the concert on the day that I had tickets to see Double Dare live.
Oh no!
And I was going to surprise the children. We were going to drive up to Hartford to see Mark Summers live last night, and we didn't get to do it because there was a thing.
Oh, that's such a bummer. No joke. I was actually on the Double Dare website not very long ago, looking at where the tour is going, and I don't think it's coming to Vegas, and I was bummed because it's something that I would enjoy seeing, but I don't need to like drive a far distance to do.
Yes, I mean it was Hartford's 45 minutes to an hour away. The problem is they had done it, or that it was scheduled to be late last year, and then something changed. The schedule changed, and they moved it. And I had one chance to get a refund when they moved it, and then everything was clear then, and then they scheduled this concert at the same day. It was too late, so the tickets just went away. And
what a bummer.
No slime for me, no gack.
I've also been very interested in the documentary about Mark Summers. I never saw it get a wide release anywhere. I should look and see if it's available online at this point. It's called On Your Mark, and Mark is spelled with a C, obviously, and that's what it says in Double Dare. And it's a documentary all about him and his life, like doing stuff on Nickelodeon and the Food Network and other things. I've always been fascinated by him for some reason. I have no idea why, but I was very curious to check that out, and I haven't gotten a chance to.
It seems like fun. So that was my week. How's your week going, Crystal?
My week is good. We're getting landscaping done in the backyard of our house, which is fun. I mean, the reason we decided to finally do it is because my dog started escaping the backyard in multiple ways. She likes people a whole lot. So she's not one of those dogs that escapes and then runs wild and runs away from people. She's literally escaping to find people to say hi to. And she's so cute. Everyone like loves on her. So she's getting positive reinforcement every time she gets out. Needless to say, we're pouring some concrete and replacing the side gate. And then we decided to do some other stuff while we were getting that done as well. So we've had landscapers here all week, which is fun, but also noisy.
Okay. Awesome. Well, let's talk about some games that we've been playing lately. How about that?
Well, right before we do that, I think we should mention something that's going on Board Game Geek right now, just before we forget. So the Jack Vasel Memorial Fund auction is going on right now over on Board Game Geek. If you head to boardgamegeek.com and there's a link right in the top announcements section that will take you to the auction. There are literally hundreds of items up, everything from rare and obscure games to custom accessories to who knows what. It's so much stuff at this point. There are pages and pages of things, and the auction is only going until April 6th. So you have 3 more days to check that out. And so if you all haven't done that yet, it is for a very good cause. The Jack Vasel Memorial Fund was started by Tom in memory of his son, Jack, and it helps gamers in their time of need. So it is a very, very good cause. And we highly recommend you all go and check that out and bid on things if you are able, because all that money goes to a really good cause.
And also, if there's something that you'd like to donate to the auction, they're still accepting items to be auctioned off. You can just go to the same location, add an item, and sell it for charity, which is also a great way to contribute to the fund.
Absolutely. That is a really good point. Like, even though it's late in the auction, you can still add things. So that's very, very good.
Indeed. Okay, let's get to some games. I mentioned last time that I had taken the kids to ConCon in Stamford. And one of the things that they do at ConCon is sort of a door prize event at the end. And they lay out a few games, a lot of T-shirts and pint glasses and swag and stuff like that. And everybody, they draw numbers, but everybody eventually gets to go up and get something to go home with. And my elder son got a copy of Azul. He was really excited about that. He was one of the first ones to get to choose things. But when my younger son went up, there was only one game left that had been passed over by several people. They'd go and hover and look at it and then walk away and get a T-shirt or a glass or something else. They did not want this game, just looking at it. But my son went up. He wanted a game. And so he comes back with this. Grandpa Beck's Cover Your Assets. It says a family favorite on it. But I was then warned, I was taken aside, you might want to take a look at that game and make sure it's okay for your 7-year-old. It's fine. It's totally, other than the mild pun at the title, it's perfectly fine for a family audience. It is a sort of a rummy style stock game. Kind of. Asset allocation game, let's say that. And so you've got all these cards. Big old stack, single stack of cards. And you've got a coin collection card and a bank account card. I love this glare. And a piggy bank card. They're all different values. There's also some wild cards. Gold and silver cards that are worth a lot, but can be paired with any of those other items. And you have a hand of cards. There's also a discard pile. And you have a few choices on your turn. You can take a pair of cards from your hand that match, including those wild cards. You can put those together, and you can put those down in front of you. Or you can take one card that you have in your hand that matches the top card of the discard pile, make a pair out of that, and stick it down in front of you. And if you're making a pair, you sort of cross-stack them, so only the top set is on top and the others are sort of buried. You are literally covering your assets in this game to protect them. The third thing you can do is get rid of cards and then just draw back up to your hand size. But the last thing is to try and steal assets from another player. So if you've got the coin collection in front of you, Crystal, I can play another coin collection card and try and steal it. You can protect it by playing a coin collection card on me, and we continue to go back and forth until one of us passes, and whoever was the last one to play takes all of the cards, all the ones played to defend and the original pair, and puts them on their stack. So these stacks, these asset clusters, get more and more lucrative as you go, because this a little $10,000 pair isn't that big, but when you add several cards to it, now it's suddenly a big deal. Or if you get those wild cards underneath it, now it is worth a lot more. You continue until the deck is gone, and then you count up your money. It's pretty simple. It's light, but it has a little bit of tension as, who do I attack? Can they defend? You assume that they won't have more than one card to defend in their hand, but maybe they've got that second one from the suit to defend. I enjoyed it. It is very luck dependent, though. If you get those wild cards in your hand, those are extremely powerful. Yes, they're worth a lot, and if they're stolen from your stack, it's a pretty big hit. But you have a lot of flexibility if you have one of those wilds in your hand, as far as stealing stuff or defending your lucrative asset clusters. And so it doesn't last that long, and I'd certainly recommend, they say this in the rule book, to play it with a good number of people. We played with only 3 of us, and it was lacking since there were only 2 people to attack at any given moment. You want to have 4 to 6 players playing this, so you have lots of possibilities to trade things all over the table. But still, I wish it was named something different.
I mean, I think that's probably a common thought, would be my guess.
Yeah, they're actually, I think, a European publisher did carry this at one point, and they called it something else, and I've forgotten what it is. But apparently, Grandpa Beck decided that the best name for this was Cover Your Assets. My kids enjoyed it, and so it's going to stick around, and we'll probably see some table time because it doesn't take terribly long. It'll be one I can play with the extended family. But I was a little nervous for a little while when he came back to our seats holding it. Anyway, mild thumbs up from me, bigger thumbs up from the children.
Well, that's still, I mean, if the kids enjoyed it and it wasn't offensive, then I suppose that's a win.
Yes.
Well, I wanted to talk about a game that Suzanne actually mentioned on the Dice Tower podcast a number of episodes ago. I don't remember how long, probably within the past 3 months or so, but I don't remember what episode. And that is Patu Factory. So this is a Japanese, well, it's an English word game that was published only in Japan. I'm not 100% sure how something like that happens, but Suzanne talked about it on the podcast, and I was instantly enamored with the idea of it. And I sought out a copy, and I actually was able to get one in the virtual flea market for Dice Tower West. So I was very excited about that. Shout out to Julio, who put his copy into the auction. In Patu Factory, all of the players are given 5 vowel tiles, 1 of each vowel. And then there are a number of gray tiles that go into the middle of the table. They're all face down, and they all contain letters, mostly consonants, but there are some vowels in here as well. Then each player draws 15 of those tiles to go with their 5 vowel tiles, and they construct 3 4-letter words using the 20 tiles that they have. The reason you have 5 vowels to start with is just in case you don't draw any vowels from the main pile. So you always have vowels to work with. There's no time limit to arrange your words. And then you will write your words down on a piece of paper, which Julio kindly laminated in his copy. So I have dry erase markers and little laminated sheets in mine, which is pretty awesome. So you write your 3 words down here. You've done this all behind a screen, so the other players can't see what words you're constructing. You then mix up the 12 tiles that make up your 3 4-letter words and pass those to one of the other players. At that point, once everyone has someone else's tiles, you flip them over and you try and recreate the 3 words that the first player made with those 12 tiles, which sounds so easy, and it is not at all. This is also where a speed element comes in, because the first player to construct 3 real 4-letter words, regardless of what they are, gets to claim the largest gear tile that's in the middle of the table and also flip a 1-minute timer. At that point, all other players have 1 minute to construct 3 words. So basically, the speed aspect is the most important part because you get a lot of points for being quick at forming your words. But then once time runs out, everybody goes around, and if you matched any of the words exactly that the first player constructed, you get a bonus point for each word that you matched. Although that almost never happens. It is shocking how many different combinations of 4-letter words you can make with 12 tiles. It doesn't matter whether there's Q's and J's in there or it's all common letters like Wheel of Fortune, R, S, T, L, and E stuff. every time, like if somebody matches a word, it's like a big celebration because it never happens. So the speed element is how you earn the majority of your points. You play through a number of rounds in a 5-player game. Each other player gets your tiles once. So that's 4 total rounds. And then whoever has the most points at the end wins. It is great. There's the timer is standard timer. The little gears are pretty cool because the number of points you get based on the size of the gear. Like they're all sized differently, but they also have holes in them that match the number of points you get for them. So like this one is 4 points. This one is 3. It's easy to remember. The screens are also good quality and are at the bottom of the box. I'll see if I can dig one out. And the box is pretty small too, as you saw kind of at the beginning. So here's the little screens, and they're all different colors. They match the colors of the vowel tiles you're given. Yeah, I really like word games, and this one is a lot of fun. It's super quick to play. Maybe takes about, I mean, even a 5-player game, it takes us about 20 to 30 minutes to play through a game. So it's quick. It is hard to get a hold of, which Sue has mentioned when she talked about it, and I will mention now as well. But, you know, if you are like me and you really want a copy, maybe you can luck out and find one somewhere. So as far as word games go, if you're a fan, this is one to look for. It is called Patu Factory. And it is published by something. Oh, it's Itten. It looks like Itten Games.
Oh, well, then there's hope that those will, because Itten's been doing a little bit better with their distribution. They did Tokyo Highway as well, correct?
Yeah, I think so. It's got another logo on here too, so it might be 2 different publishers. Ichinen Jumirai. I'm very bad at pronouncing things. This was also published in 2014, and I don't know if it's still in print over in Japan, but if people talk about it enough, who knows, maybe we can get someone to bring it over to the US, because I really enjoyed it.
That sounds cool.
Can I show you one other small thing that's not a full game, but a game accessory?
Okay.
So I think a lot of people are aware of my love of the game Strike, right?
Really?
I know, shocking. I love this game so much. But it is hard to carry around because like you have to bring, like I break down a lot of my games when I'm traveling and put them into other boxes or combine games. But based on the way Strike is set up, you have to bring the box because this insert, the arena is what makes the game. So I've been looking for ways to make Strike a little bit more portable. And I came up with an idea. I have not formally tried it out yet, but I bought a collapsible Tupperware. So it's pretty small when it's all flattened out, and then you can open it up and, well, that was a satisfying noise. Oh, God. Well, apparently not satisfying to everyone. Sterling, it's okay, buddy. It was just me. It's okay. So you have something that is, she's going to bark for a minute. I apologize. I hope that that's not too horribly crazy loud for you.
That was like an old-timey top hat, though.
I mean, kind of, yeah. So it's a little bit deeper than the arena, and it doesn't have all of the like ridges. It has some ridges, but not all of them. So I haven't tried it out yet, but I'm thinking that I believe that the dice will fit in here. If I lay them in there, when I flatten this back out, oh gosh. It's like popcorn. Yeah, like the dice will totally fit in here. So this is like a much more portable way, in theory. I'm going to try this out, and I will let people know if it works. But I think that if I need to bring Strike somewhere where I can't bring the box, this might be a good alternative. I'm going to try it out, and we'll see, I guess.
So is it possible, it's not quite the same shape, but is the foam on the bottom of the current insert removable?
Yes, it is. Hold on. So yeah, it's not perfect. Okay. But it might actually, I mean, it'll still sit in there. It's not going to go flying anywhere when the dice end up in there.
Well, I mean, the other thing is that you could go to any craft store and they sell that thickness of foam stuff and just cut it to
cut one
the bottom.
Custom for the bottom. That is a brilliant idea, and I should definitely do that. Because yeah, this helps kind of deaden, I think, the dice when they drop. That is a really good idea. I should definitely buy some foam, and then I can, like maybe get like a red or a pink color to kind of match.
Yeah.
Too, and then I'll have hopefully a workable custom strike arena. I imagine it won't be perfect, and I'm not expecting it to be, but if it will help me bring Strike to more places that I couldn't have before, I mean, I'll take it. So we'll see. I will keep everybody posted whenever I get a chance to try it out. I mean, I guess I could just do it on my own, but it somehow feels like I need to like take it somewhere and really play it with people.
Oh, it needs to be field tested for sure. And of course, everyone's going to want to know what model of Tupperware that is.
Yes, for sure. If it works, I will link it. It was on Amazon, pretty simple to get. So I will let people know what it is if it ends up working out.
And then we'll need a template for how to cut out the foam and maybe some screen printed logos. So you can have different arenas. You'd have like home team, advantage. Anyway.
Oh man, yeah. I don't know.
You drank through a straw. It set off the dog.
I mean, clearly. Oh, he's just in a mood today. I apologize. All right. Is it time for our challenge?
I feel like it's time for a challenge. Yes.
Okay. So here's where things are going to get a little bit less professional than I was hoping. I'm trying to stream through OBS, which apparently Google Hangouts doesn't like currently, or I can't figure out how to make it like it. So I'm going to have to share my screen, but I've put myself in OBS so you all will still be able to see me. So what we're going to do, I'll explain the game first because it's going to be visible when we open up that screen. Chat, you are going to be competing Eric in a series of 8 questions. What I've done is I've gone to the internet. We all know what hobby board gamers think of board games. Like I could ask Eric and you all questions about the Board Game Geek rankings or things like that, but I wanted to know what the world thinks about board games. And so where do I go to find that information? Google, of course. So what I've done is I have started a bunch of Google searches and I've let Google suggest search results or search topics for me. And now I'm going to quiz you all on what I've omitted from those search results and also about related search results on some of them. If it doesn't make sense, it will here in just a second. So let me go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to share an application window. And I'm sorry, you're going to have to see all of my OBS. And also my video will be on a slight delay because it is coming here. And we're going to move the webcam over so I'm less sideways.
Now your audio hiccuped at a crucial moment. Am I competing against the chat or are we working together?
You're competing against the chat, and I'm going to be dropping links in the chat so they can vote on their answer. And whichever answer gets the most votes is the answer that will be for the chat. So chat truly gets to like decide what they want to put. So we've got 8 total questions. I put into Google, are board games? And you can see a list of a bunch of the suggested search topics that Google presented to me. I've omitted 3 of them. I'm going to ask you all, what did not show up in those 3 results? So this first one is a not. It's a little more confusing. Okay. I'm going to drop a link in the chat right now. Eric, feel free to click on it as well if you'd like, or I can read them to you. So they all start with are board games. Number 1 is, are board games family friendly? 2 is, are board games good for you? 3, are board games toys? And 4, are board games still popular? So all 3 of those 4 answers appear in the area that I have blanked out. 1 of them does not. I need you to guess which one does not appear in the search results. And feel free to talk it out if you'd like. We can give the chat a little bit. I'm going to click on the results so I can see what's getting voted for here in real time.
Oh, boy. So family friendly. That's an odd question. Just board games in general, family friendly. That seems like an odd phrasing.
Right. And for the record, someone in chat mentioned that Google slants results based on prior searches. That is true. I did go into incognito mode, but I know that sometimes Google still uses past learnings. So if you all were to Google these exact phrases right now, you may get different results. And I mean, that's why I took screenshots. Y'all know I didn't make this up, basically.
Are board games good for you? That seems like something that would pop up. Are board games toys? Seems like a weird question. But if somebody's like categorizing it, like somebody said, "Bring a toy," and they're like, "Well, are board games toys?" Um, and then the still popular. I mean, either that's a really good red herring, or that's one that would also show up in the search results. I think I'm going to go with, are board games family friendly? That's going to be
Okay.
I think that's the one that doesn't show up.
All right, so your vote is, are board games family friendly? It looks like the chat has stopped voting at this point. So chat's vote is, are board games still popular? And we will reveal that the correct answer is, are board games family friendly? So Eric gets a point.
All right.
Still popular, good for you, and toys all appear in those search results. So I'll make some notes over here, I suppose, about who's winning, because otherwise I'm going to forget. Eric 1, chat 0. All righty.
But it is possible for us to tie in this game, so
That is
joint
true.
victory.
I will give you all. You both get points if you get it correct. So, all right, let's move on to the next one. I typed in to Google, why are board games? And this time you are just searching for the one correct top suggested answer. So of those, let's see here. Let's see. You can see what the rest of them are, and that can actually help sometimes to see what else is in Google. I'm dropping the link in the chat right now for this poll. Why are board games? And the 4 answers that you are voting on, chat, are why are board games hard to find? Why are board games in Big Bang Theory? Why are board games good for memory? Or why are board games so expensive? So those are your 4 choices. One of those appears as the top suggested result in Google that the internet has, or me and my search results have led me to. Who knows? Because, Google's a mystery. So.
Well, I mean, the one that I was thinking before you read any of the answers was going to be so expensive. But then that's the last result as well. Why are board games so expensive? Looking specifically for Reddit answers. So is the generic so expensive the top one? Now, maybe you're super crafty and have changed the size of the text box, the blockout box.
Oh, I've definitely done that on a bunch of these, for the record.
Okay. Because that box is exactly the same size as so expensive on the bottom line. I got to go with my gut. I have to go with so expensive as the one that's
right.
what I'm feeling.
And the chat has overwhelmingly decided that it is so expensive as well. So let's reveal what the correct answer is. It is so expensive. So yes, I was hoping it would throw you off since so expensive showed up elsewhere, but alas, you all are too smart. So we will move on to question number 3. All right, so I Googled the phrase, what is the dice tower? And the suggested search results weren't super interesting, but there were some related searches that Google suggested at the bottom of the page. And there is a one thing that I covered up. You all are going to have to choose what is missing from that search related to what is the dice tower. I'm going to drop the link in the chat real quick, make sure. Your choices are Dice Tower podcast, Dice Tower shutting down, Dice Tower new studio, and Dice Tower mannequin. One of those appears in a search related to what is the Dice Tower, and you all need to figure out which one it is. So.
Wow. I mean, some of those seem kind of out of the blue. Dice Tower shutting down. Unless there's a rumor that I haven't heard. The mannequin does seem like that could show up, although that's pretty niche. The mannequin. I'm sort of wavering between.
The Dice Tower itself not niche.
It's layers upon layers, niches within niches here.
How about a shirt that says niches in niches?
Niches in niches and sneeches with breeches.
Breeches.
I'm wavering between the new studio and the podcast, and I feel like the podcast is there to bait me. I think I'm gonna go with new studio as my answer.
New studio is Eric's answer, and the chat has overwhelmingly said podcast. So let's reveal. Oops, sorry that you all have to see all my OBS stuff that I'm doing here. What is the dice tower? Yeah, related. So that's the right one. It was podcast.
It was.
So that is a point for the chat. The chat has now tied. You guys each have 2. And I'm going to go ahead and close these ones that we've already finished because that will help free up some space for me. All right, next question. Let's reveal the next one. I Googled do board games, and then I let Google fill in the blank. And I'm going to put the poll over in the chat. The possible response that is missing here are: do board games make you smarter? Do board games entertain children? Do board games make people happy? And do board games work at parties? And for the record, this first one that's listed here, do board games count as media mail? I have no idea what that means.
Oh, so it's a United States Postal Service thing. You can send books as media mail, which is a cheaper shipping rate than regular packages, and so they're asking if board games can be used as media mail to send them less expensively.
That is interesting that would be the top suggestion. I guess a lot of people Google that. I certainly have not, because I didn't know what media mail was. So.
Let's see. I think entertain children, right. I don't think that's the right phrasing. I gotta go with make you smarter. I think that's where a lot of these other results are sort of circling around. Let's go with make you smarter as my choice.
All right. Do board games make you smarter? The chat agrees with you. They are voting for the same thing. Let us reveal the correct answer. It is make you smarter. I had a long box on that one. I was like, we're going to make sure that in case I write something clever that's long, it will be good. So you each get a point. So that is 3 points for chat and for Eric currently.
Joint victory.
Yes, we'll take it. Going to close out that poll. Move to the next one. All right. For our next one, I Googled what is the most popular board game? And there weren't a whole lot of suggested results here. I'm going to copy and paste the link over into the chat. So your possible responses here are: what is the most popular board game in the world? What is the most popular board game in the US? What is the most popular board game in Germany? And what is the most popular board game in Walmart?
Ooh. All right, that's tricky. Yeah, are we how focused are these questions? Most popular board game in the world does seem like that would work. Walmart seems almost too specific. And then we're left with Germany and the US. I almost think that Crystal put those 2 on there because one of them's right, and then the other one would be the red herring. So
I love that you're trying to meta my wrong answers, and it is the best thing right now.
So I'm going to go with the U.S. having a larger population and therefore more people searching for their own country. And we're going to say, what is the most popular board game in the U.S.?
Okay, well, it has been going neck and neck for the chat. I'm going to give it a 10-second countdown here in case anyone else wants to vote. Okay, one of them is pulling away a little bit, so we will go ahead and call it. The chat is voting the same way you are. They are saying most popular board game in the U.S.
Okay.
And I will reveal the answer. It is in the U.S. So both of you get a point again. Apparently, I didn't make these hard enough, but hopefully y'all are enjoying it anyway. But yeah, World was winning there for chat for just a moment. So good job, everybody. All right, so the next one is going to be another one with related searches. So I searched for who is Tom Vasel? And when I did that search, 3 other people's names showed up in searches related to who is Tom Vasel. So this is another one where you're going to have to guess the not. So I'm going to show you 4 names, and you're going to have to say which one does not show up in searches related to who is Tom Vasel. Your possibilities are Laura Vasel, Z Garcia, Melody Vasel, and Will Wheaton.
Oh boy. I have to think that Melody shows up more than Laura. Z makes sense. Z has to be on that list.
Why does Z have to be on that list, Eric?
Why? Well, Z has to be on that list because he's the voice of the people.
Oh.
I'm actually surprised that Sam isn't there as well. It just seems Melody hasn't done a lot lately, which is interesting.
I mean, she's busy with college.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like Will should be on that list as well, but he is the least connected in real life to Tom. But also,
is it one of the real answers, or did Crystal just put it in there?
Golly.
Golly. I got a golly out of Eric. That's a good night right there.
I think I'm going... Will is the one that doesn't fit, but I think it's a red herring. I'm going to say that Laura is not in the search results.
Okay, well, that means you and the chat agree. They think Laura is not in the search results either. And I will reveal that it is, in fact, Will Wheaton.
It was Will.
Up here. That was my clever ruse. So no points for the chat or for you for that one. I was really surprised when I saw this. I was like, oh, that's awesome that people are Googling Laura too. So I thought that was pretty neat. All right, we've got 2 questions left. You all are tied. So chat, if you want to beat Eric, you got to step it up a little bit here. Or Eric needs to step it down. I don't know.
Sure.
Something like that.
I'll step down. Commence stepping down.
Please don't. I can't host the show alone. All right. I Googled the best board game. And here were the search results here are the search topics that it suggested to me. And the one that I've blanked out is a group of people. I'm going to put the link in the chat. What group of people did Google mention in this list that I've blanked out here? The best board games for 5-year-olds, the best board games for middle schoolers, the best board games for teenagers, or the best board games for grandparents?
Oh, boy. 5-year-olds seems so specific for 5-year-olds. Everything else is much broader than that. All time, adults, families, couples, that all seems to make sense. Middle schoolers, that could work. Grandparents, I don't think that's it. I don't think grandparents is there. Teenagers could also work. Teenagers and middle schoolers. I think teenagers is broader. I think that will be on the list. Teenagers. Best board games for teenagers. Lock it in.
Okay. And the chat is still voting a little bit. I'm going to give them a few more seconds just because I see more votes coming in. It looks like they've slowed down. Oh, nope. Still voting. I want to make sure everybody gets their voice heard, so to speak. All right, chat. I'm going to have to cut you off here in a couple of seconds. All right, the chat agrees with you, Eric. They think it is the best board games for teenagers. But guess what? 5-year-olds.
Oh!
The super specific answer. And it was funny because the chat, that's the number 2 answer for chat. They were getting it up there. I was kind of trying to give them a chance to get there, but no points for you or the chat. I have no idea why people Google that specific age the most or whatever, but that is what showed up. All right, our last question. It is our last chance for someone to pull out a win and not have a tie, although I don't mind ties. Are you one of those people who really hates tying in games?
I can accept a tie, especially, when we're working together, you see. It's been a secret
You've been conspiring
cooperative
against
game.
me.
Yeah.
All right, so our last one. Okay, so I Googled the best board game, and these are searches that Google selected as related to that Google search. The two that I have blanked out here are specific board game titles. So the two things that I've blanked out are the names of board games. And you all are going to have to guess what two games show up in related searches to the best board game. And your options are Gloomhaven and Puerto Rico, Ticket to Ride and Twilight Struggle, Terraforming Mars and Cards Against Humanity, or Pandemic and Scythe.
Wow. Okay, I think Gloomhaven in Puerto Rico is out. Puerto Rico is too old to be showing up in those search results like that. Ticket to Ride is the one I thought would show up. Twilight Struggle, that could still apply, although the audience for that is a lot smaller. Cards Against Humanity could also show up with Terraforming Mars. Pandemic and Scythe seems like the strongest pair. But the fact that it's not Ticket to Ride is odd. So do I go with the strength of Ticket to Ride and just hope it carried Twilight Struggle, or go with the Pandemic Scythe strength in numbers? I got to go with Pandemic and Scythe.
All right. Well, the chat agrees with you that it is Pandemic and Scythe. So we're going to have a tie, whether you all are right or wrong. So we can reveal that the answers are Pandemic and Scythe. So that means the chat has 5 points. You have 5 points. You all are co-victors in this Google search game.
I think we did very well.
I think you all did really well as well. And I'm going to stop showing you all how the sausage gets made over on my OBS and switch back to my regular camera. I hope you all enjoyed that. It took me a while to put it together, and I'm sorry that the technical difficulties meant I couldn't do it exactly as I wanted to. But if you all enjoyed that style of game, please let us know. We're kind of trying out new things in regard to how you all are able to interact with us during the show. And I know that one took a little bit longer than usual as well. So apologies for that.
So I wanted to bring up a subject that I was caught off guard with over the past couple weeks. There was a half day at my kids' school, and they had some activities that were planned so that the kids could stay for that half day period and then get dismissed at normal dismissal time and have something fun to do. And one of these things was a chess club. They were going to do like a chess tournament and teach kids how to play chess. But the chess instructor had to cancel at the last minute, had a prior commitment that they couldn't move. And so they had nothing to do for these 14 kids that had signed up to play chess. And my wife looked at me and said, what are you doing that afternoon? And I happened to have a free afternoon. I said, well, I guess I can run something. I could bring some games and we could do a game club. And so I got thrown into the midst of this group of kids ranging in age of first grade to sixth grade.
Ooh,
which
that's pretty wide.
That's a pretty wide swath. And I brought a good amount of stuff. I tried to cover the bases. I had a dexterity game, Bonk, which is from the makers of Clask, sort of a marble shooting game. I had packed Drop It from Cosmos. I had Tumbling Dice. I had packed Lupin Louie and didn't realize until I got there that the batteries were dead. So that was a miss. Frog Riders came along, but I tried to have a nice wide swath of games and complexity levels so that and I even packed a couple of chess boards because some of the kids might have wanted to play chess. One I packed was the cooperative game Thanos Rising. the Avengers board game from USAopoly. And my son, when he saw that in the pile, my 11-year-old said, "Dad, I don't think that's a good idea." I was like, "What do you mean? We have 2 hours." It was a 2-hour slot, and Thanos Rising, I assumed would last about an hour, and that there's plenty of time to play and get that one done. He said, I think it's going to take them longer to play it, and they're going to get confused, and it's not going to work. And I said, no, it's fine. We'll do it. And so I got there and I set it all up and got ready to play. And my son actually taught it. He's like, "All right, Dad, oh, fine, here we go." And he taught the game. It didn't work. So this is one of the lessons I learned is we as gamers, as hobbyists, have a skewed view of complexity, I think. And it's often easy to forget that some of these games have a tremendous hurdle and learning curve to somebody who doesn't play that many of these games. And so they just weren't making progress. I wasn't there because I had to sort of roam around all these tables and pay attention to everybody. And so I couldn't babysit them. If I had been running the game, maybe I could have kept it moving. But they would sort of lose interest. At some point, they decided to leave and take a break and go play Bonk for a while and then come back to Thanos Rising, which was weird, but that's what they did. And then at some point, one of them started getting frustrated and like, "How much longer do we have here?" And he picked up the draw pile, which he wasn't supposed to pick up the draw pile, but whatever, and starts flipping through it. And another child says, "Ooh, let me see that card." And rather than let child 2 have the card, child 1 got a death grip on the deck of cards. And so now there's a tug of war over a piece of cardstock. And then they both realize what happened. And have you ever seen that guilty look when the kids know that they've done something wrong and they look up really quick to see if you noticed? That's the look I got. It was this sort of...
Dogs give me that look all the time.
They got really quiet and they looked to see if I noticed. And I said, "What happened?" He pulled it. He wouldn't let it go. He didn't, whose blame is it?
Right.
And this card was destroyed. It was mangled. It was one of the villain cards too. So it's one that you kind of need to know if it's coming up in the deck. And it was just crumpled and torn slightly and just misshapen. And I had to take this deep breath and calmly say, "Please be careful. And let's just, let's reset." They ended up not finishing the game. They got frustrated and decided to pack it up. So that was a fail. Other games did much better. I will live that they're just games. I've now sleeved all the cards, so they are now uniform again, and I can still play the game, and it's fine. But I learned not to bring games that are that fragile and games that are that complex, and maybe stick to the lighter dexterity games. I also learned to inventory the pieces before I go because Tumbling Dice was missing a few legs. Like the last time my kids took it out to play it, they lost a leg or two on the board. Lessons were learned, mistakes were made. But I feel better. I feel like they had a good time. It just made my blood pressure go up.
Well, I mean, it's good that it went well overall. And I think we all kind of have those moments where like something that is simple to us isn't simple to kids. Not just board games, but things in life. Your life experiences make certain things more approachable. Honestly, and when it comes to board games, just people who don't play a lot of board games, things that seem very simple to us can be incredibly confusing to someone who's just not familiar with game mechanics in general. If they grew up playing Monopoly, Sorry, Scrabble, even Ticket to Ride can be very complex the first time you play it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think we as gamers tend to forget that kind of stuff. And so it's a good lesson. I'm glad that you're still able to use the card. It's weird. I almost never play games with kids at all. Not that I specifically avoid playing games with children, but I don't have a lot of opportunities where that comes up as a thing. And it just so happens that a couple of weeks ago, I went to my friend John's house. He and a couple of other my friends and I were going to play Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea. And when I showed up, John was ordering pizza. His 2 kids were there. And then when the pizza was ready to be picked up, he was going to go pick it up. He was going to leave. And he asked me, if he should bring the kids with them. And I was like, oh, no, leave them here. Joe and I, my buddy, like, we can hang out with them, whatever. And so the kids were like, okay, we want to play a game with you. And I was like, cool, let's do that. So they broke out Best Treehouse Ever, which is a pretty light drafting game. And apparently they like it a lot. And I had to check some of my own tendencies as a gamer. They were very cool about it, and they explained how it worked, kind of. I used the rule book to supplement, but it's a very simple game where you literally draft a card, play a card, and there's a little acorn that shifts the balance of your tree based on where you played the card. I realized very quickly that the rules were not super important. The only rule in this game that we really followed was that cards of like color must be next to like color. So therefore, we were drafting cards that matched things already in our trees. But then we get to the end of the first round, and we all pick scoring condition cards. And I was getting ready to add up points, and they were like, round 2. And I was like, but wait, we haven't scored anything. And they're just like passing out cards. And I was like, but I don't know how many points my treehouse has. I was very like weirdly upset. And I was just like, no, it's kids. It's fine. Move on. And so we played through round 2. We drafted cards. We added them to our treehouse. We didn't pick scoring conditions at the end of round 2. We just moved straight on to round 3. We added more cards to our tree houses. And then John showed up with the pizza, and we put all the cards in the back of the box and put it away. I have no idea how good my tree house was. I don't know. Did I make the best tree house ever? It is hard for me to play a game without scoring it. And that's weird because I don't care if I win, but I want to know how I did. And I have no idea how I did, Eric. Not a clue. I don't know. So maybe my treehouse was horrible. Maybe it was wonderful. But honestly, it was kind of fun to just watch them enjoying the main mechanic of the game. Like, they really just liked picking a card and putting it on their treehouse and moving the cards around.
Yeah.
And it was neat. So while that does not happen for me often, and it probably won't happen for me often, I do have a nephew who's getting older. He just turned 4. So he's starting to get to that age where he could start playing more games. So when I do go visit him, I mean, obviously I've been sending him games since he was like 1 year old. I think I bought him Animal Upon Animal when he was literally 1. I was like, here you go. So...
I threw this question out on Twitter asking what lessons other people have learned playing games with kids. And Terrence said their propensity for Calvin ball until they learn the rules, at which point they become as stiff as a 19th century Prussian army major.
That is very specific.
That is. But I get it, the Calvin ball concept where you just sort of make up the rules. It doesn't really matter. We're all having fun here. Is certainly something I saw. And then Karen gave a whole list of lessons learned playtesting with kids. 1, they're loud. 2, they'll rewrite the game to make it fun for them. 3, they enjoy the heck out of broken games. 4, they'll spend as much time spinning narrative as thinking about strategy. And the one that I really noticed, they'll walk away from a game in progress with no guilt. So there was, I think it was Drop It that the kids were playing and they were moving along at a good clip. And then one of them just decided, nope, I'm done with this, and walked off. And the other players are like, what? But your pieces are in the rack. Where'd you go? And they sort of razzed him about it, but he was just like, no, I was done. And he went to go do something else. And trying not to get too invested in, well, then you just need to move on and finish the game without them.
It's an interesting thing because I would say to an adult, that's a breach of etiquette. But then if you really think about it, it's a board game. In the grand scheme of life, it's even to an adult who enjoys games, it's not that important, truthfully. So I think while a lot of us hobby gamers kind of, at the thought of someone getting up mid-game, like, I think you kind of have to look at it big picture sometimes, especially with kids.
Yeah. And I think I also am used to my own children who have just grown up around these games, and I know that they're solid with learning rule sets and teaching things. and it was easy to forget that not everybody has that experience. And I was not as ready for the unexpected as I should have been.
I mean, that's okay.
Yeah. We have a few minutes left to answer questions from the chat. But before we get to that, Crystal, anything else that you've learned from gaming with kids?
I honestly haven't played games with a lot of kids. I did play at Dice Tower West. I got to play in a game of Time's Up, where there was a father and son, and they were a team together. And this, I don't remember how old he was. I'm very bad at gauging children's and teenagers' ages. I don't know what it is, but I'm bad at this. So I'm not sure how old he was. If I had to guess, probably in the 11 to 12 range, but I could be way off. I don't know. But he was lightning smart. Like, he knew pop culture references that, like, I think a lot of adults wouldn't have even known, like music, movies, stuff like that. He was very with it, and he and his dad were really good at giving clues to each other. And he came up with a lot of really clever ways of describing the things on the cards. And I was really quite impressed. I don't play games with a lot of young people that often, so I think it's kind of nice for me to play games with kids. I think I have that kind of, since I don't hang out with kids that often, I have that fear that, oh, they're going to be immature, or they're not going to understand things, or they're going to mess it up. And more times than not, kids are pretty quick and with it. And I have a lovely time playing games with them. So I'm not saying I'm going to like seek out groups of children to play games with, but hey, if a situation presents itself to me, I'm not going to avoid it just because there's a kid in the game, which I think is good for me.
Yep. One pitfall that I can wrap up with is that often, especially with kids who are good at playing the games and understanding the games, it's easy to forget that they are in fact kids, and that emotions can run high. I've had a couple of situations where my kids have been, just perfectly fine playing a game, but then when a winner or loser or a particularly nasty move shows up, and suddenly you realize, oh wait, he's 7. And the reaction that's totally natural for a 7-year-old is not expected when they've been playing so nicely with the game so far.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of questions coming up in the chat.
I know. I just posted something in there to see if there are any questions for us. What do we have coming up in the near future? Do you have any conventions or anything else coming up soon?
Not for a while. I think my next actual event is going to be Dice Tower Con coming up in July. I have a few months off to get work done and take care of the family. Some very busy weeks with the family coming up in the next few. My son made the competitive ninja team, so we are now going to twice the ninja practices. But he gets to work with like famous ninja people, so that's cool.
That's really cool. I'm sure he's loving that.
Kabuki's asking if we've backed anything interesting on Kickstarter. I actually had a dilemma that I was hemming and hawing for a little bit, and I ultimately decided to back the new version of Valley of the Kings. This is that cool deck builder from AEG and Tom Cleaver, with a neat drafting mechanism with a pyramid, and you can only draft from the bottom or buy cards from the bottom, and then the pyramid collapses and new cards come out at the top. And your banking cards, you can only score them once you get them out of your deck, which is neat. And so they're doing this deluxe version with tarot-sized cards. It comes with sleeves, which, after my Thanos experience, I'm excited about sleeves. I already have all 3 of them, and I keep them in my quiver. But there's a couple of new things, and the new art looks really good, and I finally said, yeah, I really do like this game, and I would enjoy the deluxe version, so I pulled the trigger on that one.
I did end up backing season 2 of the graphic novel Adventures. I backed the expansion for The Pursuit of Happiness, and I did back Roll and Write, a Roll and Write game. I didn't get to play that one at Dice Tower West. I know Suzanne had a copy of it, but so what was nice about that one, it's funny, the game itself, Roll and Write, looks fine, but like wasn't crazy exciting to me just upon looking at it. But they had a tier where you could get all of the Pack-O games from set 1 and set 2 as part of your pledge. And it reduced the cost of everything pretty significantly. And I do actually already own, I want to say 3 or 4 of the Pack-O games. But here's a fun fact. They're so tiny, I don't know where they are. I own them and can't find them. They're probably in like the pocket of a game bag somewhere, but I don't know where. So even though they exist in my house, in my things, I was like, well, I could support Chris Handy. And these ones come in like the nice little zippered cases, so I can keep all the Pack-O games together. Apparently, small games are only good until you lose them. And let's see, I'm trying to think if there's any others that are active on Kickstarter right now. Oh, there's a Button Shy game called Handsome that I'm interested in possibly backing. The only other active one that I'm backing right now is about enamel pins. So that's not technically board game related.
Yes.
But that one's pretty cool. So, yeah.
Very cool.
Any other good questions over in the chat? Let's see.
What instrument does your son play? He plays clarinet, although he's much more of a vocalist and likes to, he wants to be in the choir. He's in both right now, choir and band, and I think he's going to stick with choir. But we made him do both and try out both, so now he's going to focus on one.
I did band and choir all the way through the end of high school, and drama, which meant I was in no sports, because marching band was my sport in high school, which some people will think is ridiculous, but marching drill is athletic, way more so than most people realize.
That is very true. I never thought that I would be a sports parent now that I am, escorting the child to multiple practices a week, and we'll have competitions once the season starts. I just never imagined that would be me, but I guess it is.
All right, let's see. Eric, are you excited about the new printing of Bus from Capstone Games?
I am. I did not know that this reprint was coming. This is the Splotter game that I adore, and for its 20th anniversary, they are reprinting it with new art, which has always been the complaint with Bus. Bus is a fantastic, deep game with a very difficult learning curve, but it's one of the first action selection, almost worker placement games. And I just really love how it all works. And to see a new art presentation, I am probably going to get this when it becomes available. Even though I have my 20-year-old original Splotter copy. It's a really solid game, and I had just put it on my top 10. It was my number 1, I believe, game that starts with B on the Dice Tower podcast. And then I think the next day, or no, the day the podcast posted, they announced that they were reprinting the game, which is pretty cool.
You put it out into the universe, and it happened. So that is pretty cool. Jess Frogger 88 asked if either of us are going to Origins, planning it for their first convention. We will not. Neither one of us will be at Origins this year.
No, but Origins is a fantastic convention, and I do recommend it as a first con because it has the best of both worlds. It is a good-sized event, so you get the spectacle, you get a lot of people, a lot of things to do, but it is not overwhelming like Essen or Gen Con can be. It is a manageable amount of people, and there's going to be a lot of great folks to play with. I recommend the boardroom. It's a great way to meet other gamers and get to try out some stuff in the library. Terrific event. I am going to miss it when it comes by, but I do actually get to spend my wedding anniversary at home this year, which will be nice.
That's funny. I'm actually a groomswoman in a wedding the weekend of Origins. So I'm not a maid of or not a bridesmaid. I'm on the groom's side of things. I was responsible for the two of these people meeting, and they said I have to be in the wedding party. So even if I had wanted to go to Origins this year, I would be missing it regardless. I've never been to Origins, but it's on my list of things to do once I don't have a regular job with regular vacation hours, because there are not enough vacation days in the year for all these wonderful events.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad I work for myself. I don't get paid when I'm, off doing these events, but I appreciate having the flexibility to be able to do that.
For sure. Let's see. Couple other nothing really huge in the chat. It looks like things are pretty much wrapping up.
More or less. Some Kabuki asking about movies that people are interested in.
Oh yeah.
I did get my Endgame tickets along with a bunch of other people. I experienced the slowdown of the website and long virtual lines trying to get those tickets.
I don't have tickets yet. My husband is going to be out of town the weekend it comes out, and I was like, okay, so I'm seeing it without you, and he got all sad. So now I have to wait. So hopefully the internet will do a good job of not spoiling it. We'll see.
That's hard. That's a lot of trust in the internet.
I know, especially about a movie like this. But with the first one, like, I feel like the internet actually did a pretty good job of not generally spoiling the big thing that happens at the end of the first one. So, I'm trusting that I'll make it. And I mean, I'm still going to go see it regardless, but hopefully it won't get spoiled for me. We do need to still look and see if we can get tickets for after he's back. Yeah. But I could have just gone without him, but I'm a nice person, so.
What do you think the statute of limitations is on spoilers? When can you, or how long can you reasonably expect to not have a film spoiled for you?
Okay, so yeah, those are technically two different questions. Reasonably expect it to not be spoiled, I would say, is pretty short. I would say maybe a week to 2 weeks, tops.
I think it's 2.
Now, as far as statute of limitations or whatever on when a movie should be able to be spoiled, I am an anomaly, and I believe that you should never spoil a movie, TV show, whatever, at all, no matter how old it is. Because people always do that thing where, like, I'll talk about something that came out in the 90s, and I'll reference something vaguely so as not to spoil it. And people will be like, that movie is like 25 years old. What are you doing? And I'm like, here's the deal. If people who have seen it know what I'm talking about, then they know what I'm talking about. And I've proven whatever point I was trying to make. If someone happens to have not seen it yet, I don't want to be the one to ruin it for them. So, like, I just believe in not spoiling things at all. Like, if you ask me about the movie Top Gun, I'm not going to tell you what major things happen in the plot. I don't care how old Top Gun is. Cool things that happen in that movie. I love that movie so much. And it's like the best. It's like an action movie and a rom-com all at the same time. It's so good.
Yes.
Yeah,
What I always fear is that, at some point, if the movie is big enough and popular enough, it becomes part of the zeitgeist. And then you start seeing SNL sketches about it, or you start seeing memes about it. So it just becomes part of the general cultural discussion. And that's where I feel like spoilers come through. It's not necessarily that somebody's going like, oh yeah, the ending of that movie. It just becomes, it's like how many jokes about Rosebud are there? The Citizen Kane reference. There's a bunch. Animaniacs cartoons about Rosebud. I've never seen Citizen Kane, but I know what Rosebud is. That's the sort of thing I'm talking about.
Okay. That makes sense. And I think with super old movies, yeah, there's something there. I did watch the first episode of the new Twilight Zone this week.
Oh.
It just came out 2 days ago, I want to say. There's at least a couple episodes out already, and I watched the first one, and I really liked it. The actor who plays the lead in this episode specifically, oh my gosh, I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Is it Kamal Nanjiani?
Yes. Yeah. I love him in everything he's in, and he does such a good job. So if people haven't subscribed to CBS All Access yet, which you should, then you can subscribe to CBS All Access and watch Twilight Zone and also Star Trek Discovery. It's amazing. I'm actually giving away a $25 gift card to CBS All Access on my Twitter sometime after Sunday.
Nice.
Yeah, because I want somebody new to discover Discovery, and I just figured that would be a fun way to do it. It's like an informal, personal contest. Do people do that? I mean, I'm weird, so I do that.
I have seen you offering this, and I'd be up for it if I didn't already subscribe. So
yeah, that's the thing. Like, I could give it to somebody who's already watching the show, but I really want to help push someone, They were already wanting to and just hadn't done it yet. I'm helping push them toward the awesomeness that is Discovery.
Indeed. And I think that's probably where we should end it for tonight, Crystal.
Yeah, I mean, once I make a Star Trek reference, it's all downhill from there.
Yes, that's it. I was worried that you weren't going to get one in there.
It's nearly impossible for me to go a live stream without mentioning Star Trek at this point.
A lot of folks saying that first episode is free on YouTube, so you can check out the Twilight Zone without having to. But you can also get a free trial for CBS.
True. Free trial, and that's good. And the with commercials version of All Access is only $5.99 a month too, so it's not super pricey.
Right.
All right. Well, I guess until next time, I'm Crystal Pisano,
and I'm Eric Summerer,
and you've been watching Dice Tower Tonight.
Thanks for watching. Promotional consideration has been provided by game publishers in the form of review copies of games. Crystal and I will see you in 2 weeks for another installment. Our show is supported by viewers like you. Thank you. Dice Tower Tonight is produced by Crystal and me with assistance from Tom Vasel, Roy Cannaday, and Rob Searing. Our Sharknado spin-off provided by Raccoon Typhoon. Timothy Pinkham composed our theme, and hosting is provided by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games at great prices at coolstuffinc.com. Give us your feedback on the Dice Tower Guild at Board Game Geek on Facebook or Twitter, or by emailing us at dicetower@gmail.com. And don't forget to visit the other shows in the Dice Tower Network. Find something new at dicetowernetwork.com. Until next time, from all of us at the Dice Tower, have fun gaming.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye-bye.